Hello there, world of tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Droodles Blitz, and in today's video, I'll be playing in the Tier 10 Chinese tech tree light tank, the WZ-132-1, a vehicle that I have had a very troubled past with. And in today's video, I think I'm ready to share my final opinions on the vehicle. Now, I've probably made maybe 3 videos on this tank in the past, and that's quite a bit judging that this line's only been out for about 5 months. But it's mainly because this is such a polarizing tank. It's a vehicle that sometimes you can have really incredible games with due to the best DPM for all the light tanks in the class, the fact that it's got an incredibly good spotting mechanic, but it's also got the worst penetration for a light tank, especially on the standard. Its shell velocity and aiming time are pretty weird, and even though its dispersion isn't bad, it can also cause some rather irritating moments. However, after a lot of back and forth on not only my equipment and my provisions, everything on this tank, I think I've finally figured out the playstyle and my overall opinion on this tank, and I have to say, I actually like it. Now, I don't know if I would consider this to be an amazing tank, because it's not. It's one of the highest skill cap vehicles in Tier 10. If you don't understand how to drive this tank, you're going to do really bad in it. Even if you do understand how to drive it, you're still probably going to struggle to do well in it. I played 6 games, which I'm going to be showcasing all 6 of them in today's video, and I'm pretty sure for literally almost every game, I managed to ace the tank. First of all, I thought I'd start off with my equipment, which we can see I'm actually running a rather weird loadout. I'm obviously running calibrated. While rammer is incredible on a tank like this with 3,563 DPM, I just can't run it, judging that the standard pen is not only atrocious at 230 without cali, but as well the premium pen is 30 less, which is just awful. You can't penetrate anything. So I personally justify running cali so I can penetrate more opponents. Not only do I run calibrated, but I'm also running supercharge. This right here is honestly the savior. Supercharger is incredibly important for 2 equally different reasons. The first reason we have is obviously the shell velocity buff, something that I didn't realize about the WZ-132-1 until taking a look at its stats and trying to shoot at distance, is that its shell velocity is pretty trash, I'm not gonna lie. We can see that the WZ-132-1 shell velocity is 1163 meters a second. Compare that to the Batchat that's at 1460, or even the Vickers Light at 1478. Yeah, both of those vehicles feature a shell velocity 27% faster. That is absolutely tragic. And if we take a look at even the T100 LT, it's still a crap ton faster at 1350. That means that shooting at anything on the move, and especially at distance, can cause actually decent trouble for the WZ-132-1. And it was something that I noticed, especially on maps that had a lot of distance. It's just really painful using this tank with such a fast rate of fire to, at the same time, feature a not so good shell velocity. So my solution was to put on supercharger. With supercharger, you can see that the tank features now 1512 shell velocity, meaning that it's basically on par with the Batchat, Vickers Light, and T100 LT. So now you can very easily snap shells on the move, you can shoot people very easily at distance. So that was the first base covered. The second reason supercharger is incredible is due to the fact that it decreases shell penetration loss over distance. A lot of people might not know this, but AP and APCR shells lose penetration over the amount of distance fired. So let's say I wanted to shoot at somebody, I don't know, 200 meters away. Well, let's say your AP shell has 5% pen loss. That means over 100 meters, you're going to lose 5% of your effective pen. So if you're shooting at somebody 300 meters away, you're going to lose 15% of your overall pen. APCR is a faster round than a lot of other types of ammunition, but in return, it loses more penetration over distance. Because of that, not only is the shell velocity terrible on the WZ base, but it loses a lot of penetration over distance due to the rounds being APCR. Because of that, it's basically just terrible without supercharger. Putting on it, it allows you to not only have better pen over distance, but also hit your shells faster, working together. It's actually a great buff on the overall equipment, and it's one of the major reasons I started to like the tank. The other thing I started running is refined gun. It actually has very good on-movement dispersion, 0.12. That is the same as a Bosch Shotdown 25 ton. So while it may not feature the best overall base dispersion, it's got a really good aiming time and really good on-movement dispersion. So you can actually get it down to 0.277, making it incredibly accurate, almost the same base dispersion as a Leopard 1. So after messing around with my equipment, I think that this loadout here has actually caused me to get some pretty solid results. Today alone, as you can see, I played 6 battles in the tank and was able to achieve 3,888 average damage. So in today's video, we're going to be going over all 6 of these replays, and I'm going to be showcasing just how to play the tank. The first battle we are going to be taking a look at is on Yamato Harbor. This is in fact the only defeat out of the 6 games I'm going to be showcasing. I figured we'd get this game over with first to showcase the downsides and what to do in a losing situation where there's really not much you can do but just hope, pray, and try to get out as much damage as possible. So the enemy team, they have a 30B and an Object 907, which is already bad news for this tank, because not only does the enemy team get 2 hull down vehicles, but they're also on a map that really supports hull down tanks. We can see that it's obviously Yamato, and Yamato has C-cap completely covered by a hull down spot. I am in a light tank that doesn't have any gun depression, only sitting at 5 degrees. So I can't counter that 907. I also can't counter that AMX 30B. The other problem is that I can't really help out the heavies because obviously, well, look at all of them over there. So I'm kind of in a situation where I'm boxed in. I can't shoot the enemy mediums. I can't shoot the heavies. So right now what I'm hoping is that I can punish this 30B. He drives out in the open and... really? The shell just completely misses with 0.277 dispersion? Really? And then we miss again? Okay, well, I guess we're just going to lose out on 660 damage there because my gun decided to troll me. That is a perfect example of where this tank can be rather frustrating. So, at this point in time, I'm kind of hoping I can get one more shell out into the 30B. I whiffed the shot. That one's on me. Not only do I whiff the shot, but then I lose 600 health. Oh boy, yeah, this is not going all too well. We're going to shoot at the 30B on the move. Unfortunately, it misses by literally a mile. So, at this point in time, it's not going great. But I do know I have a massive DPM advantage over this 30B. Not only do I have a faster rate of fire because I have less alpha, but I also just have flat more DPM. So in this situation, if I can kite this 30B for just a little bit of time, I can hopefully beat him. So there you go, we get a nice 330 rolling again. We have 390 health, which means he won't kill me with the shot. We light him on fire, and he dies. Now, to be fair, I'm pretty sure we would have killed him even without that fire, as we most likely would have out-reloaded him, but it was nice to just add that little bit of a touch in. So at this point, we're up to 1900 damage. I'm going to try and go for this 57 heavy. Now, I've made an educated guess, predicted that the 57 has obviously dumped his clip, and he's either reloading it if he had a shell left, or he's fully out. So I'm just going to fully try and clear this T-57 heavy, which we are able to do. Now we've got the AMX M4 and the... yeah, I mean, it's not going great, let's be real. This is it's a pretty disastrous battle at this point. The AMX is full health, and the only tank left that I really could get some shells into is the 907, so that's exactly what I'm going to try and do. The problem is the 907's going to rush me, which, to be fair, is the correct play here. Clear me, don't kill the VK-72, but VK died anyway, so didn't really make much of a difference. This game we were able to deal 2,900 damage. A little unfortunate I bled that 600 health earlier because I probably could have done about 3,600 if I'd saved that health, but either way, we did the best we could have in this situation. We did 3k, which is fine for a defeat. It's just one of those games that was going to fall apart. Try to buy as much time as possible in a tank like this. DPM and mobility are the main advantages you have in this vehicle because obviously it's a light and you are going to be able to escape your opponents pretty easily. Not only that, but using that great accuracy and DPM is going to allow you to get out some decent shots. So if you can take advantage of those two things, you can do very well even in a defeat, but sometimes there's just not much you can do to actually change the outcome of the battle. Now that we've gotten the bad out of the way, let's talk about the good things that this light has going for it. First of all, we have the spotting mechanic. This mechanic is quite possibly the best mechanic in the game. And it's unfortunate that it's on a vehicle that it's tricky to use, but if you can use it correctly, wow, does it feel incredible. Adaptive concealment. The way it works is that you are spotted for 7 seconds rather than 10. That's really nice. That's a 3-second boost on not being spotted. So you can shoot somebody, and rather than being spotted for the normal 10, you get undetected 3 seconds faster. Not only that, the reason this tank is super nice is you know who spots you. If we read the second line, it says, when you're spotted by an opponent, a red eye icon appear above them. Hide from these particular enemies. Essentially what that means is that if you shoot, you can see immediately who has spotted you. That is incredibly useful information. It means that whenever you're poking a bush or poking an opponent, you will know instantly if you're going to be shot back or even if they know you're poking. It is massive and insightful information that can greatly help you out in the grand scheme of things. I can't tell you how many times I've thought I'm unspotted, I poke a bush, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna shoot this guy back up, and then it actually turns out I'm spotted the whole time, and the guy instantly kills me. It's happened a lot, and it's a really irritating thing. It lets you second guess yourself. With this tank, you don't ever second guess yourself, because you know if you're spotted or not. So, it's just an incredibly nice mechanic, and it really does give you that little bit of information that can change the outcome of a battle. So, this second game, we are on Rockfield. Up against us, we have some decent tanks. In fact, the tier 10s they have are incredibly strong. Progetto, T-110E4, T-57 Heavy, and a 113. Holy crap, that is a super strong tier 10 lineup. Even the tier 9s they have, like, some of them aren't super strong. The TNH VZ, for example, pretty easy tank to deal with. But the VK-4502B and Bosch Chatillon, both very strong tier 9s. So I do have to be pretty cautious in this game. Early, I'm going to be waiting here. I'm going to be using the good accuracy and aiming time just to kind of snipe my opponent safely from a bush. You can see the moment I shoot that guy, the light bulb pops up, letting me know that I am spotted by him. Now, obviously in this situation, he's not going to shoot me, so it doesn't really matter. We're already up to 950 damage. And you can very easily see where the incredible DPM on this tank just feels so dang nice. Unlike the T100LT, which only has 310 damage per shot, having 330 is just such a nice mix of not only alpha, but the ability to have a crazy good rate of fire to trade with other mediums and light tanks. So already in this situation, we've been able to farm 1800 damage. That's pretty dang nice. Now we've got the WZ-132. We're gonna aim it on his lower plate. Get a pretty nice snap. Thank you very much. We're gonna aim it on his lower plate again. Oh, there you go. Thank you. He does end up shooting me, but doesn't matter all too much. We're up to 2500 damage at this point. Now we got the E4. We aim in a heat shell on his hatch, and it just disappears into Narnia. Yeah, this gun, it still is rather irritating every now and then. It misses a lot of easy shells for no reason, so yeah, it can be rather frustrating. But for the most part, it's fine. There you go, nice shell into the Progetto. We're over 3000 damage at this point. 57 Heavy's gonna shoot at me. Does get 2 pens into us, but doesn't matter to me. We're already up to 3400 damage. Oh, and he gets me again. Okay, well, that guy really wanted to tunnel me. But, again, doesn't stop me. We get a shell into the prog, and thankfully, he low rolls me. I guess that's just a little bit of good luck after the 57 beans me. And we're able to finish him off while he misses us. So there you go. First game, 4040 damage on our victory. And not only that, but we pulled out an ace because, yeah, let's be real, the average person just really doesn't do all too well in this tank. So, it's a super fun vehicle in this type of situation. You've got the accuracy, you've got the mobility, and even though you saw the armor didn't work at all, it's still a good enough gun that you can make up for the armor deficit in a lot of situations. So, not a bad battle. Now we arrive on a map I would consider pretty dang awful for this tank, Normandy. A map that basically requires gun depression to have a much higher chance of doing well. Because, let's be real, the whole map is a giant hill, and no matter where you are on the map, whether you're going to C, to B, or even A, if you have gun depression, it's gonna be a heck of a lot easier to win in this situation. So, starting off, I'm going to go with the team. I can see that my entire team is mostly going to go towards Seaside, so starting off, I'm going to go right to this bush here. This is a very nice early game position. If anybody overpokes into base B, you can get an early game shot, but it also gives your team spots. You can see we've detected the enemy FE-4202, we've got the enemy heavy spotted in the back of the map, so right now we're just keeping people detected, we're chilling, we're waiting for information. That's kind of what I like to do in this vehicle. Waiting for information can greatly help you. Unfortunately, shooting at the frickin' side of a tight patch it doesn't pen. Bro, we even shot heat shells just to make sure that it would pen, and I still got absolutely rolled. So, rather unfortunate. But All good, all good. We haven't bled any health, so no harm, no foul. Let's see, we got the 4202 off to the side, and yeah, this is the kind of situation now where it's just tricky to figure out what you want to do in this light. Now, I noticed that I obviously can't deal with the heavies. All of the heavies, the Type 71, 7.52, and the types, everything is over towards the other side. I am not going to be able to fight those heavies. I'm going to have a much easier time trying to deal with the FE4202 and the Bat Chat. Now, the nice thing about this tank is that it does feature spaced armor on the sides. So actually overpoking your side armor is a lot more effective in this tank than actually showing your front, because your front can be heshed by the 4202. Little fun fact there. So I always poke side on. Unfortunately, the 4202's armor is very hard to pen for a vehicle like this because I don't have good pen, let's be real. I was thinking to myself, well, I got more alpha than the Bat Chat, so I'll trade with him. And then I roll 284. What did I just witness? The good news is that we got HE. And the HE is actually quite nice on this vehicle, so we get a 409 roll with our second shell onto that Bat Chat. We're going to aim in on him again. HE. Bruh. You can see again the shell velocity, little tragic even on the HE with supercharger, but our next shell gets a pretty nasty 400 roll into the back of his tank, and just like that, we're up to 1200 damage. We're going to aim in on the 4202's track wheel, nice 340 damage roll, and unfortunately we're not able to get any more out, but we are up to 1500, which is not too bad. We've only bled about 600 health, which means we still have 1200 left, plenty to take shots from the rest of the enemy team. So we can see the 7.52, E4, Type 71 all pushing up to our minnow. So at this point, I'm going to try and farm the E4. That is by far the biggest threat, because that thing can slap the crap out of me, and not only me, but the rest of my team. So we get two very nice rolls into that E4, especially with that Maxwell heat shell. We're going to aim in another shell, 289. Okay, we're penning our shots, that's all that matters. Now he's a one shot for us, a pretty easy shell, and okay, I guess my heat shell's just going to bounce right off the hatch. Thank you for buffing the hatch on that vehicle, Wargaming. And then our heat shell velocity was just not enough to hit it there on the move. So, a little unfortunate, but nothing that matters. We're going to aim it on the 7.52. It misses, hits the wall, but that's all good, because we're going to get to the side of his vehicle here and get a nice slap-a-rooney into his track wheel, locking him in place. Then we're just going to stay here, get another shell into the side, finishing him off. He doesn't even get a shell back into us. We're up to 3,040 damage at this point. Nothing incredible, but we're getting some shells out. I was hoping I could help out my toonmate here. Shoot a shell into the rear of the 95, and it low rolls for 270. Yeah, that's a yikes, but all good, because we're going to ram the grill, get a nice pen in, and take 513 off in total, dealing 3,820, and we finish him off with the shell. So there you go. Not a bad result. Another 3,800 damage game, and a pretty solid victory. We didn't necessarily use the spotting mechanic in this game, but we were able to use the high DPM, decent mobility, and very, very good accuracy to our advantage. Once again, pulling out another mastery. Now we arrive on Naval Frontier, a map that is decent for this light. I wouldn't say it's the best map ever, because hull-down mediums, especially pretty strong ones, the STB, M48 Patton, can very easily bean you if you don't get into the right positions. But early game, this is a great map for a light tank, because you can get right into this bush and spot the crossing. It's very common, but it's just super effective. You can see I'm going to try and spot, there you go, the 50B, and we also got the Kron. I could have snapped that Kron, but I actually wanted to wait for a couple reasons. First of all, because of that. If I shoot, the Kron is most likely going to hit me back. I don't want to be in that situation. So, Kron misses, then the Stritzvon pokes, and we're able to get a nice shot into the Stritzvon. So, all ends well. We get a free shot out, and we don't even bleed anything, plus we get information on who is crossing, plus stopping their Kron, allowing my 113 to get some early gains on positioning. So, not too bad at all. There is the enemy Sheridan. I don't know why this player did this, but he made a big misplay. Maybe he didn't think the enemy, or should I say, my team was going to be here? I don't know what he thought, but, terrible play. To be fair, our E100 is awful. That is the best way to describe it. He's a 42% player, and he camps the entire rest of the game up top on the concrete here. Terrible. Literally, it would have been great if he had helped me later in this battle, but still, we're able to come out with a victory, so I guess I can't complain all too much, but oof, you're going to see how sus of a player he is. So already, Sheridan's gone on the enemy team. That's really good. That's by far the deadliest opponent for me to deal with. So now that Sheridan's gone, I'm trying to figure out how I want to deal with the situation. Well, first things first, I know that Stritzvon is running. So there you go, we get a nice spot on the Stritzvon and a well-aimed tracking shell. Because of that tracking shot, we're able to aim in on him. I was thinking about shooting HE, In retrospect, it probably would have hit and penned, but it's not worth it. I'm going to shoot a high explosive anti-tank shell at the roof of his tank. Unfortunately, it does not connect. At this point, we're unspotted, and I'm thinking, okay, what do I want to do here? Well, I know the Kron and Stritzvon are most likely either going to re-push, so I'm going to leave, or they're going to go over towards spawn 1 on our side. So I'm going to try and go help out my tank destroyers. I feel like that's the most important thing I can do. You can see we have our E-100 still camping in the back. Ooh, boy. Well, nothing I can really do about that. I can't push him or anything because I'll be banned. So I guess I'm just going to aim it on the 50B, take a shot. Unfortunately, that shell does end up missing. That's not too good, especially because we do end up losing our T-30. Well, I don't really know what to do here because I could try and push behind and get that object 752, but at the same time, he's kind of getting absolutely slapped. You can see I yell at the E-100 to go, but now we can see that, oh boy, the enemy's pushing quite aggressive off to the side. Well, we're going to get a nice shell into the enemy SU. At this point, we're going to put on our adrenaline, and we're going to aim it on the side of that Kron turret, and even though I have 1500 shell velocity, it's still not enough to help us out there. The AMX 50B looked at us for a brief second, but we're all good. He doesn't get us in the end. So now I've got my toon mate. Anonymous is getting absolutely crapped on by the enemy, but I know that even though my U-100 is quite useless, he is still overlooking me, as you can see. So I'm going to try and use his uselessness to my advantage, because I know that if anybody tries to rush me here, we're quite well off. So I'm going to get a shell into the lower plate of the Kron, killing his driver. After we kill his driver, we're just going to finish him off. Bonk, thank you very much. We do get shot by the Stritzvon, but that's fine. We have plenty of health as it is. Honestly, I'm not sure why the Stritzvon poked this, because just a bit higher of a roll, and that would have been the end of his tank. But either way, we're up to 2700 damage. He's at 3 health, and we still have plenty of health left to trade with our opponents. But I know that even though this SU has no camo, and he's probably not the most effective player, I'm not in a situation where I can really trade, because if that SU does end up hitting me, it's not going to be fun for me to fight that Stritzvon. Good news is that we are able to finish off the enemy grill. The bad news is, well, the 50B's off to my side, so I can't really deal much with that. Bro, what is this on-movement dispersion? This gun is so irritating sometimes. We're aiming on the SU, shell goes into the track, whatever. I could have aimed it a little better, but still a little irritating. At this point, U-100 still fully camping at the back, has literally done nothing the entire game. So I'm just trying to figure out how I want to deal with this situation. So I'm thinking, well, the Stritzvon probably is still around this corner here. I actually didn't realize he ran, but he did run. So we're going to aim it on the SU. I'm going to fire a heat shell. Apparently the hatch on the SU is like impervious. I didn't know that. So yeah, we don't pen that, but that's all good. We get a nice shell into the SU anyway. U-100 finishes him off, and we're up to 3,176 damage. At this point, we're just going to, you know, speed and kill the STRV. Doesn't really matter what we do at the end, but pretty good game. Another victory, and I think once again another ace. So at this point we are 3 aces in a row. This wasn't as high of damage as the other games, but you can definitely see where I had to very carefully pick apart my opponents. I wanted to use the DPM and the trading potential to deal with that Kron, to deal with the Stritzvon K, but I also had to be very careful. I couldn't put myself in any over-aggression, because if I did, very easily could have been a loss. But alas, we took apart the situation well and was able to come out with a victory. Now we arrive on the newest edition of Blitz, Lagoon. I'll be real, I like Lagoon for pubs. It's a fun map, it's got a lot of hold down positions, it's great for mobility, not too bad. For comp, holy crap, I hate this map. Base B is not resettable whatsoever unless you literally go into base B. It's one of the worst map designs I've ever seen. It forces you to have tanks at B in a comp situation no matter what. But I digress. We're not talking about comp, we're talking about pubs. And in pubs, especially in a light tank, you want to go to this spot early game to detect enemy vehicles that try going over towards base A. For some reason, the Object 907 has decided that crossing to A is his most profitable decision. It's not. Going to A in a medium is an instant L. You want to go towards C side. And early game, as I said, use this position as some quick information and spotting. So we have the Object 907. Once again, we get another slap into his tank. So already we've been able to deal 630 damage into his tank. That's pretty nice. That's basically the same damage a T110E4 could have dealt. So we've gotten some early game shots off. We've also spotted the enemy E100. Here's a bit of flash news. That E100 I was just complaining about on Naval, who basically did nothing, well, that's the same E-100 on the enemy team now capturing base B. Who would have guessed? So because of that, I know we basically have a free win at this point. So I'm going to focus more on trying to clear the biggest threats for me, which is mobility. The number one thing I always say about driving a light, and this is true for comp as well, mobility is your biggest threat, because obviously in a light, the only thing that's going to be able to kill you or catch you is a tank that goes as fast as you. Not only that, but mobility has more DPM usually. WZ-121, for example, running rammer, has 3,440 DPM. That's pretty insane. So I actually have to be quite careful when fighting that tank, especially when, what the hell is that, Wargaming? I don't know where that shell went, but once again, I just have really bad luck every now and then. The good news is that he misses his shot on me, so we're able to get a pretty nice shell back, and because we have less alpha than his vehicle, we're able to get the DPM advantage too. So there you go, we get 3 shells into his tank, he only gets 1 back into us, and just like that, we've dealt 1,600 damage in this game. Now that the enemy 121 is dead, we only have 1 other mobile tank to clear, and that would be the Object 907. So we're going to push right over to this Object 907. He's spotted right in front of us, and he's shooting at our STB. So he's going to shoot at our STB, I'm going to get a nice slap into his vehicle, and back on up. We're actually able to get a nice bounce because we over-angle our hull, and unfortunately, my heat shell just doesn't pen his turret. Looks like it hits the edge rather than the weak spot. But that's fine, we're over 2,000 damage at this point, 907's dead. That means all that is left on the enemy team is non-mobile tanks. They have the Stritzvon K, 268 version 4 Minnow, and 60 TP. I guess you could consider the Stritzvon a mobile tank, but it's not what I would consider a vehicle I'm going to have to worry about. So right now we're aiming it on the 268 V4. We actually managed to pen him in the lower plate. This is a perfect example on why I run calibrated shells. If I was running rammer in this situation, I would not have been able to pen this V4. Probably wouldn't have been able to pen him with either of those shots. So that is a massive advantage for Cali there. Now we're going to aim it on the 60 TP, get a nice tracking shell. The 60 TP is one of those tanks that is not very good on flat ground. It's a reason why I don't really like to drive it on flat ground and comp. So you can see here we are just absolutely rolling him. We've gotten some nice shells out already. We've got our adrenaline activated, so we are farming him with DPM. We're up to 3,500 damage dealt. Boom, 3,800 damage dealt. And at this point, my tune mate gets the clear. Now we're going to aim it on the side of the Stritzvon, get a nice 360 damage roll. And at this point, we're up to 4,200. We have a Minnow and Stritzvon left. And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to flank. There's no reason not to. But at the same time, I need to go fast. The enemy team has 3 bases captured. And as much maybe smart it would have been to capture B, it's just not worth it. The amount of time it would take me to capture B and then go to A and C would actually have the possibility of losing the team the game, especially if this IS-7 ended up dying. It's a lot more beneficial just to farm the Minnow, which is exactly what we're going to do. So the Minnow gets finished, and there you go, 5,225 damage. We are able to use the, once again, incredible DPM of this tank paired with mobility to get just a crazy good game. As you can see, these games so far have been easy cakewalks. The gun on the tank has been working great. The DPM, the mobility, the alpha, plus that spawning mechanic, just the icing on the top. Now we move on to a cold map. Brrr, we're on Faust, a map that greatly benefits from gun depression and turret armor. Unfortunately, we have neither of those. In fact, I'd be willing to say Faust is one of the worst maps for a tank like the WZ-132-1. We are up against a Leopard 1. Apart from the Leopard, they don't have any mobility. We actually have an advantage in mobility because we have an Object 140. But, of course, with my luck, the Object 140 is AFK. So, it's just me. Something that a lot of people don't know about the Leopard is that it's actually faster than every light tank in the game on power to weight. Because of that, it beat me into position, which I was actually a little surprised to see, but after thinking about it, it's not really that surprising judging how fast the Leopard is. I just didn't think he was going to randomly pop up in front of us. Thankfully, we get a nice shell into his tank. Now we're going to aim it on his tank, we get another nice shell, but oh, we low roll it massively, and then not only that, but the Minnow rolls us back. Yeah, not worth. I mean, to be fair, we did actually back the Leopard up. If we had let that Leopard go, possibly could have been a much more challenging game. So even though I did bleed about half of my health there, I think it was kind of worth it because it did stop that Leopard and allowed us to get the kill. We got the mouse in the back. I knew that wasn't going to pen. I just kind of shot it because why not? I know in this situation, there's no way I can deal with that mouse. He's so far back, I don't really have the accuracy or the heat pen to confidently shoot him over and over and over. So instead, I'm going to go try and deal with this Chieftain. I'm pretty sure that the Minnow's not much of a threat, and even if he is, I'll spot him. And if worse comes to worse, worst he starts looking at me, that's actually a benefit, because now the minnow's going to be dealing with me rather than my teammates who are really the bigger threat here. So we get a nice HE into the enemy chieftain, Mark 6, but it looks like that mouse is going for me. I'm not really sure. But there you go. Now the minnow's spotted, so I know I don't even have to worry about him. So at this point, I'm just going to push this chieftain. Free damage ahead. Here we go, and a free bonking. You can see I had HE loaded, but I decided I was just going to shoot standard, which was a good decision because the shell ended up going into his side armor. This here is a perfect example of where the crazy good DPM on this tank works so dang well. I saved my adrenaline for the perfect moment, which allowed me to get 3 shells into this mouse, and now we're just going to keep on farming him. He's still got 900 health left. We're going to get an easy pen right there into his side. By the way, this Kron bounces the guy like 4 times, dies, but okay, whatever. We still got the kill, and just like that, we're over 3,200 damage. Now we have the E100, the Minnow, and the 60 TP left. We're going to use, again, this tank's great mobility to try and get a little bit of a late game farm. So we're going to push off to the side of the C100, aiming, and a bonk. There you go. Nice 413 damage max roll for 3,600 damage. Sorry, kind of stuttered there. Now we're up to 3,800 damage, and if we can get one more pen into the 60 TP, ka-chow, just like that, we're now up to 4,085 damage, and we're able to squeeze our way past all of our teammates. So, yeah, another great game for the WZ. You can see how, if you use the tank correctly, you flank your opponents rather than dealing with them head-on, it can be just a crazy good vehicle. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is all the replays I have for you on the WZ-132-1. It's a tank that can do very well if put in the right hands. It's a vehicle that I am slowly increasing my stats on. Right now, I'm at 70% win rate with 3,053 average damage, which is very good for the vehicle itself. It's some of the top in the NA server, but I'm trying to get it higher because I'm really starting to understand how to drive it, and more specifically, after messing around with my loadout, I think I've really figured out my niche playstyle for the tank. So it's actually grown on me a bit. It's not the best vehicle, and by no means is this video clarifying or declaring in any ways that this is the best or even close to the best tank in tier 10. But what I can say is that it is actually a pretty solid vehicle, and I have to take back calling this the worst tier 10. It's actually pretty decent. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.